Lesson 3, area of squares and rectangles. So last lesson we looked at perimeter. This lesson we're looking at area. And we're just looking at squares and rectangles for this lesson. All right, question 1. Find the area of the shape below by counting the squares. Okay, so that's pretty easy. We just have to count the squares that are in here. And you can see by our answers that each of these squares it must be 1 square centimetre because all of our answers are in centimetres squared. So that means that each of these grid boxes is going to be 1 centimetre by 1 centimetre. Oh, okay, so find the area of the shape below by counting the squares. 1, 2, 3, 4 across and 1, 2, 3, 4 down. And we can see that this is a square. So 4 times 4 is 16. You can count them individually if you like, but I know that 4 times 4 is 16, so that's quicker for me. So 16 square centimetres is the area of this shape. Okay, find the area of the shape below by counting the squares. So same thing again. This time it's a bit of an irregular shape, so we can't just do the rows times the columns. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 squares there. So that's going to be, if they're centimetres squared, if they're square centimetres, then this is going to be 13 square centimetres. Okay, find the area of the shape below by counting the squares. So this one, we could just say, this is like a rectangle, but then we just need to subtract 2. Okay, so if we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 1, 2, 3, 5 times 3, we'll get the total area of this if it were a rectangle. So 5 times 3 is 15, but then we're not including these 2 squares, so we'll subtract 2. So 15 square centimetres minus 2 square centimetres gives you 13 square centimetres. Okay, find the area of the shape below by counting the squares. So this one is a little more tricky because some of these squares in the shape are whole squares and we can count those quite easily. But we've also got these sort of parts of squares here. And I guess we just need to look at it and say, okay, this here looks like if I were to add this to this little amount here on this side, it looks like I'd be able to make 1 full square, doesn't it? Because this looks like it's about the same size as this little bit here that we didn't include on this side. So if I add this plus this, that's kind of just like saying, okay, that's 1. That's 1 square centimetre. And then same here. If I were to add this part here to this part here, well, that part that was left out over here kind of looks the same size as the part that was included over here. So if I add these 2 together, they should add up to make 1 full centimetre squared. And same here at the bottom. It's the same thing again. The part that was left out here, this large section of the square, well, that looks like it's pretty much exactly the same as the part that was included over here. So we're just adding this tiny little bit and this large bit, and we'll get 1 full unit or 1 full square centimetre. So if I were to add up all 3 of these parts of squares over here and all 3 of these parts of squares over here, I'd end up with 3 full squares, yes? Because this plus this is 1 square, this plus this is another square, and this plus this is another square. And you can see, if you look at all 3 of them, they make this triangle shape. And this triangle goes from one corner to another corner that's just 3 squares down. And it's the same over here. This triangle goes from one corner to the other corner, and it's just 3 squares down. So you can see that this triangle here plus this triangle here, that's just going to give you that full 3 squares. So we know that this irregular part over here, this weird part that we thought we were going to struggle with, we know that if we just add all of that together, the area is going to be 3 full square centimeters, okay? And then we just need to add up the normal squares that we can see. So 1, 2, 3, 4 going across, and 1, 2, 3 going down. So it's 4 times 3, which is 12. And then we need to add on the 3 square centimeters that we found before. So 12 plus 3, 15. Okay, find the area of the rectangle below. Now, when we're finding area of a rectangle, when we were doing it with squares, say for example with this little rectangle inside this shape, what did we do? We timed, or we multiplied the number of square centimeters, because remember these are square centimeters. We multiplied the number of square centimeters across by the number of centimeters that go down. So we actually multiplied the length, because this is, if we were just looking at the length here and not the whole square, this is 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters. So we multiplied 4 by 1, 2, 3 centimeters. So we multiplied the length by the width here, or the height times the length, whatever you want to call it. We multiplied these two sides of the rectangle together, and the product, our answer, gave us the area of the rectangle. So we can do the same thing here, even though they only gave us the lengths. So we've got 7 millimeters this way and 22 millimeters this way. So we just need to do 7 times 22, and that will give us the area of the square. So 7 times 22 is 154, but even though it gave us the lengths in millimeters, when we multiplied them together, we didn't end up with a length. We ended up with the total area here. Imagine this was filled with squares, okay? It's not a length, it's an area. And it's millimeters times millimeters. So it's actually going to be millimeters squared. So when we're going from lengths to area, we need to change our units. Units of area are always going to have this little power of 2 here. All right, question 6. Find the area of the rectangle below. So same situation, we just need to multiply the length times the width or the height, whatever you want to call it. We need to multiply these two sides. So 14 times 32. You can also call it the breadth. So usually the formula will say it's the length times the breadth, L times B. So our answer for this one is 448 meters squared, because remember it was given in meters. So our area is going to be in meters squared. And this one, same again. This time we've got 8 centimeters here by 15 centimeters here. So 8 times 15, or 15 times 8, is 120 square centimeters. In this case, we've got 8 times 12. 8 times 12 is 96 square millimeters, or millimeters squared. Here we've got another one, and there it's both in centimeters, all good. So 45 times 42, and that's 1,890 square centimeters. Okay, this time we've got a square. It says find the area of the square below. So it's not a rectangle. So what's different about a square? Well, a square has all sides the same, okay? So a rectangle only has the opposite sides the same. But if we want to go one step further and classify it as a square, then it's actually got the sides that are next to each other the same as well. So all of the sides are the same. So that means that if we know one side is 6 centimeters, we know that all the other sides are 6 centimeters too. And if we want to find the area, we still do length times breadth, because it is still a rectangle as well. But we know that this breadth here is also going to be 6 because it's a square, and all the sides have to be the same. So this is just 6 times 6, which is 36. And another way of looking at that is 6 times 6. What's another way of saying 6 times 6? Another way of saying 6 times 6 is 6 squared. And that's where we get the term squared from, because 6 times 6 gives you the area of this square, okay? And the side squared gives you the area of a square. So that's why we call it squaring. Okay, question 11, find the area of the square below. So this time we're just doing 15 squared, or 15 times 15, which is 225 meters squared. In this case, we've got 2 by 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, or 2 squared is 4. Okay, and that's it. That was a quick quiz.